Michel de Nostradamus, depending on the source, 14 or December 21, 1503, 1 or July 2, 1566, usually Latinized as Nostradamus. Was a French astrologer, physician, and reputed seer, who is best known for his book Les Prophéties, a collection of 942 poetic quatrains allegedly predicting future events. The book was first published in 1555 and has rarely been out of print since his death. Nostradamus's family was originally Jewish, but had converted to Catholicism before he was born. He studied at the University of Avignon, but was forced to leave after just over a year when the university closed due to an outbreak of the plague. He worked as an apothecary for several years before entering the University of Montpellier, hoping to earn a doctorate, but was almost immediately expelled after his work as an apothecary, a manual trade forbidden by university statutes, was discovered. He first married in 1531, but his wife and 2 children died in 1534 during another plague outbreak. He fought alongside doctors against the plague before remarrying to Anne Ponsarde, who bore him 6 children. He wrote an almanac for 1550 and, as a result of its success, continued writing them for future years as he began working as an astrologer for various wealthy patrons. Catherine de' Medici became one of his foremost supporters. His Les Prophéties, published in 1555, relied heavily on historical and literary precedent, and initially received mixed reception. He suffered from severe gout toward the end of his life, which eventually developed into edema. He died on July 2, 1566. Many popular authors have retold apocryphal legends about his life. In the years since the publication of his Les Prophéties, Nostradamus has attracted many supporters, who, along with much of the popular press, credit him with having accurately predicted many major world events. 6-7 Most academic sources reject the notion that Nostradamus had any genuine supernatural prophetic abilities and maintain that the associations made between world events and Nostradamus's quatrains are the result of misinterpretations or mistranslations, sometimes deliberate. 8. These academics argue that Nostradamus's predictions are characteristically vague, meaning they could be applied to virtually anything, and are useless for determining whether their author had any real prophetic powers. They also point out that English translations of his quatrains are almost always of extremely poor quality, based on later manuscripts, produced by authors with little knowledge of 16th century French, and often deliberately mistranslated to make the prophecies fit whatever events the translator believed they were supposed to have predicted. Nostradamus claimed to base his published predictions on judicial astrology, the astrological judgment, or assessment, of the quality, and thus potential, of events such as births, weddings, coronations etc., but was heavily criticized by professional astrologers of the day such as Laurens Vidal 44 for incompetence and for assuming that comparative horoscopy, the comparison of future planetary configurations with those accompanying known past events, could actually predict what would happen in the future. 45. Research suggests that much of his prophetic work paraphrases collections of ancient end-of-the-world prophecies, mainly Bible-based, supplemented with references to historical events and anthologies of omen reports, and then projects those into the future in part with the aid of comparative horoscopy. Hence the many predictions involving ancient figures such as Sulla, Gaius Marius, Nero, and others, as well as his descriptions of battles in the clouds and frogs falling from the sky. 46 Astrology itself is mentioned only twice in Nostradamus's preface and 41 times in the centuries themselves, but more frequently in his dedicatory letter to King Henry II. In the last quatrain of his 6th century he specifically attacks astrologers. His historical sources include easily identifiable passages from Livy, Suetonius, the 12 Caesars, Plutarch, and other classical historians, as well as from medieval chroniclers such as Geoffrey of Villehardouin and Jean Froissart. Many of his astrological references are taken almost word for word from Richard Rousset's Livre de l'Estat et Mutations de Temps of 1549-50. One of his major prophetic sources was evidently the Mirabilis Liber of 1522, which contained a range of prophecies by Pseudo-Methodius, the Tiburtan Sibyl, Joachim of Fiore, Savonarola, and others. His preface contains 24 biblical quotations, all but 2 in the order used by Savonarola. This book had enjoyed considerable success in the 1520s, when it went through half a dozen editions, but did not sustain its influence, perhaps owing to its mostly Latin text, Gothic script, and many difficult abbreviations. Nostradamus was one of the first to reparaphrase these prophecies in French, which may explain why they are credited to him. Modern views of plagiarism did not apply in the 16th century. Authors frequently copied and paraphrased passages without acknowledgement, especially from the classics. The latest research suggests that he may in fact have used bibliomancy for this, randomly selecting a book of history or prophecy and taking his cue from whatever page it happened to fall open at 6. Further material was gleaned from the De Honesta Disciplina of 1504 by Petrus Crinitus 47, which included extracts from Michael Selos's De Demonibus, and the De Mysteriis Egyptiorum, concerning the mysteries of Egypt, a book on Chaldean and Assyrian magic by Iamblichus, a 4th century Neoplatonist. Latin versions of both had recently been published in Lyon, and extracts from both are paraphrased, in the second case almost literally, in his first 2 verses, the first of which is appended to this article. While it is true that Nostradamus claimed in 1555 to have burned all of the occult works in his library, no one can say exactly what books were destroyed in this fire. Only in the 17th century did people start to notice his reliance on earlier, mainly classical sources. Nostradamus's reliance on historical precedent is reflected in the fact that he explicitly rejected the label prophet, i.e. a person having prophetic powers of his own, on several occasions.